When Lily Chen opened her eyes, the first thing she smelled was disinfectant. The second thing she felt was pain, dull, heavy, spreading slowly from her chest to her fingertips. It was a familiar pain. Too familiar. Her lashes trembled. White ceiling. Beeping machines. Pale blue curtains moving slightly with the air conditioning. Hospital. Her fingers curled weakly, and a chill ran through her spine. No, she whispered, her voice hoarse. This was wrong. She clearly remembered dying. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly. Her body growing weaker day by day. Doctors calling it complications. Family members standing by her bed with worried faces. Herbal soup every night. Warm. Bitter. Poisoned slowly, carefully, lovingly. Lily swallowed, her throat burning. So you're finally awake. That voice. Her heart skipped painfully as she turned her head. Grace Chen stood near the window, dressed in a simple cream dress, her hair neatly tied back. She looked elegant, worried, and kind, the perfect eldest sister. The same sister who had signed the papers to cut Lily out of the inheritance in her past life. The same sister who had smiled when Lily stopped breathing. Relief washed over Grace's face. Thank goodness. You scared us. Us. Lily's fingers dug into the sheets. This was the day. The day she had fallen down the stairs after being accidentally pushed during an argument. The beginning of everything. 6 months before her death. She was reborn. Water, Lily croaked. Grace immediately poured her a glass, helping her sit up with gentle hands. Her touch was careful, practiced. Anyone watching would believe this was sisterly love. Lily drank slowly, forcing herself not to stare. Calm down, she told herself. If you panic, you'll die faster. You fainted suddenly, Grace said softly. The doctor says it was stress. You've always been too sensitive. Sensitive. That word tightened Lily's chest. Before she could respond, the curtain rustled. Lily. A familiar male voice, hesitant, worried. Noah Chen stepped into view. He was younger than the others, dressed casually, his hair slightly messy as if he'd rushed over. His eyes were red, like he hadn't slept. When their eyes met, something in his expression cracked. You're awake, he said quietly, almost afraid. He moved closer, stopping at the side of her bed. Does it hurt? Lily stared at him. Noah. In her past life, he had always hovered at the edges. Too young. Too powerless. The only one who cried when she died, but he had arrived too late. She remembered his trembling hands clutching her cold fingers. Her throat tightened. I'm fine, she said, forcing her voice steady. Grace smiled. See? I told you she'd be okay. Noah didn't look at Grace. His gaze stayed on Lily, searching her face, as if afraid she would disappear again. That night, after Grace left to handle paperwork and the nurses dimmed the lights, Lily lay awake, staring into the dark. Her body felt weak, but her mind was painfully clear. She replayed everything. Mrs. Chen's herbal soup. Eric's mocking laughter. David's cold indifference. Her father's silence. Grace's control. They won't change, Lily thought. Only I can. The door opened softly. She turned her head. Noah slipped inside, carrying a small paper bag. He walked quietly, like someone entering a room where secrets slept. I brought you something, he whispered. The hospital food is terrible. He placed the bag on the table and pulled out a simple sandwich and a carton of warm milk. Lily stared. In her past life, she had been too sick to eat. Too trusting to question what she drank. Thank you, she said slowly. Noah hesitated, then sat beside her bed. He didn't touch her this time. Just stayed close. Lily, he said after a moment, his voice low. If anyone makes you uncomfortable, tell me. Her heart clenched. Why? Why was he different? She wanted to ask him 1,000 questions. Wanted to grab his sleeve and scream that this family would kill her if she wasn't careful. That she had already died once. But she didn't. Instead, Lily lowered her eyes and smiled faintly. A weak, grateful smile. The kind everyone expected. I know, she said softly. I'll be careful. Noah nodded, though worry still lingered in his eyes. After he left, Lily slowly sat up. Her reflection stared back at her from the dark screen of the TV, pale, fragile, harmless. Perfect. This time, she whispered to herself, I won't fight you head on. She lay back down, closing her eyes. I'll survive first. Outside the room, unseen, Grace paused by the door, her expression unreadable. And somewhere deeper in the house, a pot of herbal soup simmered quietly. Lily was discharged from the hospital 3 days later. The doctor said she needed rest. The family agreed a little too quickly. When the black car stopped in front of the Chen family house, Lily felt her chest tighten. The building stood exactly as she remembered, large, clean, and cold. White walls. Tall gates. A place that looked safe from the outside and suffocating from within. Grace walked ahead, heels clicking confidently on the stone path. Your room has been cleaned, she said over her shoulder. I told the staff to move you back to your old floor. It's quieter. Quieter meant farther from everyone else. Lily nodded obediently. Thank you, sister. Grace paused for half a second, then smiled again. Inside the house, the familiar smell of flowers and medicine mixed in the air. Lily's steps were slow, careful, her body still weak, but her eyes missed nothing. Eric lounged on the sofa, scrolling on his phone. When he looked up and saw her, a crooked smile appeared on his lips. Well, look who survived, he said lazily. You really scared everyone this time. Lily lowered her gaze shyly. I'm sorry. Eric raised an eyebrow, clearly disappointed by her lack of reaction. David stood near the stairs, speaking quietly to a servant. Tall, expressionless, hands in his pockets. When Lily glanced at him, he didn't even look back. Just like last time. Mrs. Chen appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands with a cloth. Her face lit up with warmth the moment she saw Lily. Oh, my poor child, she said, stepping forward and taking Lily's hands. You've lost so much weight. Don't worry, I'll take good care of you. Her hands were soft. Her grip was firm. Lily smiled politely, forcing herself not to pull away. Thank you, Auntie. That night, Lily lay in bed, listening. The Chen house was never truly quiet. Footsteps. Murmured voices. Doors closing gently but deliberately. Her door opened with a soft knock. Lily. Noah's voice. She sat up. Come in. Noah stepped inside carrying a tray. On it was a bowl of porridge and a small plate of fruit. I thought you might be hungry, he said. You barely ate at dinner. Dinner. She remembered the way Mrs. Chen had personally served her soup, watching closely as Lily lifted the spoon. Lily smiled faintly. I wasn't feeling well. Noah placed the tray down and hesitated. You don't have to force yourself. If you don't like something, just tell me. She looked at him, studying his face carefully. Open expression. No calculation. No impatience. Is he really this simple? She wondered. She decided to test him. Second brother, Lily said softly, I heard Grace wants to change Dad's will. Noah's eyes widened. What? No, that's not. He stopped himself, then shook his head firmly. I haven't heard anything like that. She nodded as if embarrassed. Oh. Then maybe I misunderstood. The next day passed quietly. Lily stayed in her room, pretending to rest. From behind her door, she observed the servants' routines. Who brought food? Who cleaned? Who lingered? In the afternoon, Mrs. Chen arrived with a porcelain bowl. Your medicine, she said gently. Traditional herbs. Good for your heart. The smell made Lily's stomach turn. In her past life, she had never questioned it. This time, she smiled. Thank you, Auntie. I'll drink it later. Mrs. Chen's smile stiffened slightly. It's better while it's warm. Lily nodded. I know. I just feel a little nauseous. Mrs. Chen studied her face carefully, then nodded. Of course. Rest well. When the door closed, Lily carried the bowl into the bathroom. She poured the dark liquid into the toilet, her hands steady. So it begins, she thought. That evening, Grace visited her room. She sat by Lily's bed, folding her legs gracefully. You've been very quiet since you came back. I don't want to trouble anyone, Lily replied softly. Grace sighed. You're too considerate. This is your home too. Lily smiled weakly. I know. Grace's eyes narrowed slightly. Lily, you know Dad has been under a lot of stress lately. The family needs harmony. Harmony. In Lily's mind, that word tasted bitter. I understand, she said. I'll do my best. Later that night, Lily lay awake again. Footsteps approached. Her door opened. Noah slipped in, carrying a thermos. I brought you warm milk, he whispered. Lily's heart sank. Did Auntie send you? She asked casually. Noah shook his head. No. I made it myself. She watched him pour the milk into a cup. His hands were steady. He didn't rush her. She drank slowly. Nothing happened. No pain. No dizziness. So he's clean, she thought. After he left, Lily sat in the dark, hugging her knees. In this house, smiles were weapons. Kindness was currency. Silence was consent. And somewhere in this family, one person didn't know how to lie. The next morning, Lily overheard Mrs. Chen speaking on the phone in the hallway. She's back home now, she said softly. Yes, we'll adjust the plan. Lily's fingers tightened around the doorframe. Her death was no longer a memory. It was a schedule. The family dinner was announced suddenly. Grace sent a message to the family group chat in the morning, her words polite and warm. Let's have dinner together tonight. Lily is finally home. We should reconnect as a family. Lily read the message in silence. In her past life, this dinner had marked the beginning of her isolation. She remembered how every word she spoke had been twisted, how every reaction had been judged. By the end of the night, she had been labeled emotional, unstable, and ungrateful. This time, she had already decided. Say less. Smile more. At 6 in the evening, Lily went downstairs slowly. She wore a simple white dress, her hair tied loosely. Nothing sharp. Nothing memorable. She looked exactly like someone easy to overlook. The long dining table was already set. Mr. Chen sat at the head, looking tired. Grace sat to his right, composed as always. David sat across from her, posture straight, eyes unreadable. Eric leaned back in his chair, casually spinning his chopsticks. Mrs. Chen sat beside Mr. Chen, her hand resting lightly on his arm. Noah waited for Lily, pulling out a chair for her. Careful, he whispered. Thank you, Lily replied quietly. The servants began serving dishes. For a while, only the sound of plates and cutlery filled the air. Grace smiled and broke the silence. Lily, you look better today. Lily nodded. Thanks to everyone's care. Mrs. Chen sighed warmly. She's always been such a delicate child. Eric chuckled. Delicate? She caused quite a scare. Dad nearly cancelled his trip. Mr. Chen frowned slightly. Enough. Grace tilted her head, her tone gentle but pointed. Eric is just worried. After all, stress affects everyone differently. Especially those who take things to heart. Lily felt the words press against her like invisible fingers. In her past life, she would have defended herself. Explained. Cried. This time, she lowered her chopsticks. I'm sorry, she said softly. I shouldn't have caused trouble. The table went quiet. Eric blinked. Grace's smile froze for a fraction of a second. David finally looked at Lily. Grace recovered quickly. You don't need to apologize. We're family. Lily smiled faintly. That's why I feel guilty. Mrs. Chen reached over and placed a piece of fish into Lily's bowl. Eat more. You're too thin. The smell made Lily's stomach twist, but she forced herself to take a small bite. She felt eyes on her. Waiting. Nothing happened. The tension shifted. Grace changed the topic. Dad has been thinking about the future. The family needs stability. Mr. Chen sighed. We'll talk about it later. Eric smirked. Stability is important. Especially with so many emotional variables. This time, Noah spoke. Third brother, he said calmly, Lily is still recovering. The table went still. Noah rarely spoke during family dinners. Eric raised an eyebrow. I'm just stating facts. Lily gently tugged Noah's sleeve under the table. It's okay, she said quietly. He's not wrong. Grace studied Lily closely. You're very understanding today. Lily met her gaze, her eyes calm. I've had a lot of time to think. David set down his chopsticks. About what? Lily smiled politely. About how lucky I am to still be here. Something unreadable flickered in David's eyes. Dinner ended earlier than usual. As everyone stood to leave, Lily felt a sudden wave of dizziness. She swayed slightly. Noah caught her arm immediately. Lily. I'm fine, she said quickly. Grace watched the scene, her fingers tightening around her napkin. That night, Lily sat on her bed, heart pounding. She had survived the dinner. But survival wasn't victory. A soft noise came from outside her door. Voices. She held her breath and moved closer. Grace's voice was low but sharp. She's different. Mrs. Chen replied quietly, people change after accidents. Eric scoffed. Or she's acting. David didn't speak at first. Then, if she remembers something, we're in trouble. Lily's blood ran cold. Mrs. Chen sighed. Then we move faster. Silence followed. Lily stepped back, her legs weak. Her timeline had shortened. She pressed her hand against her chest, breathing carefully. Stay calm, she told herself. Panic kills faster than poison. A knock came at the door. She turned. Noah stood there, worry written all over his face. I saw you almost faint, he said. Are you really okay? Lily looked at him for a long moment. In this house, everyone was choosing sides. She didn't know yet if she could trust his. I'm okay, she said softly. But, could you stay for a bit? Noah nodded without hesitation and sat beside her. As the lights dimmed, Lily stared at the wall. At the dinner table, words had been weapons. And tonight, the war had officially begun. Lily began to change the way she moved through the house. Not loudly. Not suddenly. She became softer. She asked Grace for advice, what to wear, how to speak to their father, even which books to read. She praised Grace in front of the servants, laughed quietly at Eric's jokes, and never once complained when Mrs. Chen insisted she drink soup. She simply didn't drink it. To everyone else, Lily looked obedient again. To Grace, she looked manageable. You've been much more sensible lately, Grace said one afternoon as they sat in the sunroom. I was worried you'd become resentful after the accident. Lily shook her head gently. I realized I relied too much on my emotions before. Grace smiled with satisfaction. That's good. Emotion leads to mistakes. Lily smiled back. Inside, she was counting. Every word. Every glance. Every silence. At night, she pretended to drink the soup and later disposed of it. Mrs. Chen started watching more closely, but Lily adjusted. Sometimes she drank a few spoonfuls, just enough to look convincing. Her body grew weaker, but slowly. Slow enough to survive. Eric, on the other hand, grew restless. You've gotten boring, he said one evening in the living room. I preferred you when you argued. Lily lowered her eyes. I don't want to make enemies. Eric laughed. In this house. Too late. She tilted her head slightly. Then I should at least avoid making more. That answer unsettled him. Meanwhile, David finally spoke to her. It happened in the hallway late at night. Lily was returning to her room when David stopped her. You don't remember anything, do you? He asked abruptly. She froze internally but kept her face calm. Remember what? The fall, he said. Before it happened. Lily shook her head slowly. I only remember being tired. David studied her for a long moment. Good. Good, she echoed. He turned away. For your own sake. She watched him leave, her heart racing. So he knows, she thought. But how much? That night, Noah knocked on her door again. I found something strange, he said quietly. Lily's breath caught. What? The hospital report from your accident. There were signs it wasn't just a fall. Her fingers curled into the blanket. Noah, she said carefully, you shouldn't look into this. I can't ignore it, he replied. If someone hurt you. She interrupted softly, you'll only get hurt too. Noah stared at her. I don't care. The words struck her harder than any accusation. She turned her face away. Please. Let me handle it. Noah hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Okay. But I'm not leaving you alone. The next morning, Lily collapsed. It happened after breakfast. Her vision blurred, her ears rang, and the floor rushed up to meet her. She woke in bed with voices arguing nearby. She didn't drink enough, Mrs. Chen said sharply. Grace replied, tense, you said the dosage was safe. David's voice cut in coldly. Are you trying to kill her? Silence followed. Lily opened her eyes weakly. Everyone froze. I'm sorry, Lily whispered. I'm just, not very strong. Grace rushed to her side. Don't talk. Noah stood at the back of the room, his fists clenched. Lily met his eyes. She had been careful. Too careful. That night, her fever rose. And for the first time since her rebirth, Lily wondered if surviving this family required something more dangerous than patience. Trust. Lily drifted in and out of consciousness through the night. Sometimes she heard voices. Sometimes she felt cold towels on her forehead. At one point, someone held her hand so tightly it almost hurt. When she finally woke up, sunlight was already filtering through the curtains. Her throat was dry. Her head felt heavy. You're awake. Noah's voice. She turned her head slowly. He sat beside the bed, his eyes bloodshot, his jacket still on as if he hadn't moved all night. How long? She whispered. All night, he answered. The doctor said you were lucky. Lucky. Lily smiled weakly. I've always been lucky. Noah didn't smile back. There was something in that soup, he said quietly. Her heart skipped. I sent a sample to a friend, he continued, his voice tight. Not poison. But something that weakens the heart if taken long term. Lily closed her eyes. So he knew. You shouldn't have done that, she said softly. Noah stood up suddenly. Why didn't you tell me? She opened her eyes again, meeting his gaze. Because this is a family matter, she replied. And family matters are dangerous. He laughed bitterly. Dangerous? Lily, they were slowly killing you. She remained silent. Outside the room, voices approached. Grace entered first, her face pale but composed. Mrs. Chen followed, her usual warmth replaced with thin concern. Lily, Grace said gently, how do you feel? Better, Lily answered. Mrs. Chen stepped closer. We were so worried. The soup was meant to help you. Noah turned sharply. Help her. Mrs. Chen stiffened. Noah, you're young. You don't understand. I understand enough, he cut in. Stop giving her that soup. Grace intervened quickly. Noah, you're overreacting. Lily reached out weakly and tugged his sleeve. It's okay, she said. Auntie didn't mean harm. Mrs. Chen looked relieved. Grace frowned. Noah stared at Lily, disbelief written all over his face. After they left, silence filled the room again. You protected her, Lily said quietly. I protected them, Noah replied bitterly. Why are you still lying for them? Lily took a slow breath. Because if the truth comes out now, she said, I won't just be sick. I'll be gone. Noah sank back into the chair. Then tell me the truth. She hesitated. This was the moment she had feared. I know they don't want me here, Lily said finally. I know I'm in the way. That's not the same as knowing they tried to kill you, Noah said. She looked at him, her eyes calm but exhausted. Does it change how it feels? Noah's jaw tightened. That afternoon, David came to see her. He closed the door behind him. You should leave this house, he said without greeting. Lily smiled faintly. You sound concerned. I'm practical, he replied. You're a problem. And problems here don't last long. She studied him. Did you know? Yes. Then why didn't you stop it? David looked away. Because stopping it would have destroyed the family. Lily nodded slowly. And letting me die wouldn't. He didn't answer. That evening, Mr. Chen collapsed. The news spread quickly through the house. Chaos followed: doctors, servants, whispered accusations. In the confusion, Grace and Mrs. Chen argued openly for the first time. "You said this wouldn't happen," Grace hissed. "You rushed things," Mrs. Chen snapped. "Now everything's unstable." Noah stood in the hallway, listening. Lily sat in her room, staring at her hands. This was different from her past life. Things were unraveling faster. Later that night, Noah came to her room again. "I heard everything," he said. She didn't ask what. "I can't pretend anymore," he continued. "I know what they're capable of." Lily looked at him quietly. "Then you should stay away from me." He shook his head. "I choose you." Her chest tightened painfully. "Noah," she said, her voice trembling for the first time, "if you stay, you'll lose everything." He smiled sadly. "I already did the day I realized my family could kill you." Tears filled her eyes, but she forced them back. In her past life, she had died alone. In this life, someone had chosen her. Outside, the Chen house stood brightly lit, but inside, the foundation was cracking. And Lily knew. The end was finally approaching. The Chen house had never felt so fragile. Mr. Chen survived the collapse, but he did not wake up immediately. He lay in the hospital, pale and unmoving, while the family took turns sitting by his bed, each wearing a different mask. Grace became decisive overnight, handling arrangements and speaking to doctors with calm authority. Mrs. Chen stayed close to her, whispering suggestions. Eric avoided the hospital entirely. David came and went, silent as ever. Lily did not go. She sat in her room, wrapped in a thin blanket, watching the winter light shift across the floor. Her body was still weak, but her mind felt lighter than it had in months. Noah stayed with her. "They'll start fighting soon," he said quietly, sitting on the chair near her bed. "Without Dad awake, there's nothing holding them back." Lily nodded. "They've been fighting for a long time. They just hid it better." That evening, David returned home alone. He knocked once and entered Lily's room. "I transferred part of your inheritance into a separate trust," he said bluntly. "It's legal. Grace can't touch it." Lily looked at him in surprise. "Why?" David exhaled slowly. "Because this is the only way it ends without blood." She studied his face, tired, hollow. "You feel guilty," she said. "Yes," he replied simply. She nodded. "Then we're even." David left without another word. The next morning, everything exploded. Grace confronted Mrs. Chen in the living room, her voice sharp and shaking. "You promised me control," Grace said. "Now David is interfering, Noah is rebelling, and Lily." "Lower your voice," Mrs. Chen snapped. "If you hadn't rushed." Lily stepped into the room. They both froze. "I didn't mean to interrupt," Lily said softly. Grace stared at her. "You should be resting." "I've rested enough," Lily replied. Mrs. Chen forced a smile. "Lily, dear. I know about the soup," Lily said calmly. The smile vanished. Grace's breath caught. "You." "I know about the plan," Lily continued. "And I know neither of you expected me to survive." The room fell silent. Grace laughed suddenly, sharp and brittle. "So what? You want an apology?" Lily shook her head. "No. I want to leave." Mrs. Chen frowned. "Leave? I'll take what is legally mine," Lily said. "And I'll disappear. No accusations. No police. No revenge." Grace stared at her in disbelief. "After everything we did?" "Yes," Lily replied. "Because destroying you won't heal me." Grace's face twisted. "You think you're better than us?" Lily met her gaze. "No. I think I'm tired." Noah stepped forward and stood beside Lily. "I'm leaving too," he said. Grace turned to him. "You can't be serious." "I am," Noah replied. "This house isn't family anymore." Mrs. Chen's voice trembled. "If you walk out, don't come back." Noah nodded. "I won't." Later that day, Lily packed her things. Not much. Just clothes, books, and the few belongings that had ever truly been hers. As she stood at the door, she took one last look at the house. In her past life, she had been carried out of this place. This time, she walked out on her own. Outside, the air felt cold and clean. Noah stood beside her, holding the car door open. "Are you scared?" he asked. Lily thought about it. She thought about dying once already. About fear, betrayal, and silence. She smiled faintly. "No," she said. "I survived." As the car drove away, the Chen house grew smaller in the distance, still standing, still wealthy, but hollow. Lily closed her eyes. She had been reborn into a family that wanted her dead. But she left with the one person who wanted her alive. And this time, she would live.